It was one of those calm Saturday mornings at my lakeside cabin, the kind that made the whole week's chaos worth enduring. The scent of pine drifted through the air, birds chattered lazily in the trees, and for once life felt simple, peaceful. That is, until the knock came. Sharp, authoritative, the kind that didn't belong out here in the woods. I peeked through the window and groaned out loud. There she was, Karen from the HOA in all her uninvited glory. Clipboard clutched like a weapon, oversized sunglasses swallowing half her face, and that familiar expression of disapproval that made her look like she'd just smelled something rotten. She wasn't just on the HOA board, she was the HOA, at least in her mind. Over the past year, she'd fined me for the color of my birdhouse, claimed my garden lights were disturbing local wildlife, and once accused me of harboring illegal ducks when a few mallards waddled up on my dock. But today, she wasn't alone. A man in a wrinkled suit trailed behind her, young, nervous, clearly trying to look more official than he actually was. Probably a new board intern or some volunteer she'd roped into her crusade. I opened the door, already bracing myself. Karen didn't waste a second. "We're here for a surprise inspection," she announced, waving her clipboard like it was a royal decree. "We've received anonymous complaints about non-regulation storage and possibly unauthorized modifications inside your cabin." I couldn't help but laugh. "Inside? Since when does the HOA inspect people's homes?" Her lips tightened into a line that could cut glass. "We've updated the bylaws. Section 14B gives the HOA emergency access rights to any property under suspicion." The man beside her, who looked like he wanted to be anywhere but there, fumbled with his briefcase and handed me a piece of paper. "This is a warrant," he muttered, trying to sound convincing. I took it, unfolded it, and almost burst out laughing. It was a blurry photocopy of some template from the internet. No seal, no judge's signature, just my name scribbled in blue ink and the words "right of inspection" typed across the top. "You think this is real?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. Karen crossed her arms undeterred. "We're entering whether you like it or not. Refusal to comply can result in HOA fines up to $5,000 and possible legal action." I looked at her, then in the paper, then back at her again. And that's when I decided to have a little fun. Slowly, dramatically, I tore the so-called warrant in half right in front of her stunned face. "Come back with a real warrant," I said, calm as ever. "Preferably one signed by an actual judge, not your knitting club." Her jaw dropped. The intern's face went pale. The scraps of paper fluttered to the porch like confetti. For a few seconds, Karen just stood there, glitching, eyes wide, lips twitching, like her brain was rebooting after a system crash. "You've just made a huge mistake," she hissed finally, voice trembling with anger and humiliation. "You're interfering with an official HOA action." I folded my arms. "There's nothing official about trespassing or printing fake warrants off Google." Her glare could have melted steel. She snapped toward her companion, who had already started backing toward their Prius like he knew what was coming. "Get in the car, Evan. We're not finished here." And just like that, they were gone, tires crunching over the gravel, Karen's convertible kicking up a cloud of dust. I stood there on my porch, half amused, half exasperated. I figured that was the end of it. Another empty bluff, another round of threats that would die in committee. But I should have known better. The next morning, I woke up to the rumble of heavy tires outside. Peering through the blinds, I saw a county truck parked in my driveway, followed by a sleek black SUV. And of course, Karen's red convertible rolling up behind them, the woman herself looking smugger than a cat in a canary cage. 3 people climbed out, a code compliance officer, a fire inspector, and Karen, armed with a new clipboard, even bigger sunglasses, and what looked like an entire folder of paperwork. "This is a follow-up on a formal HOA health and safety complaint," the county officer announced. "We've received reports of hazardous wiring, possible mold contamination, and unpermitted renovations inside the property." And just like that, my peaceful weekend was officially over. "What?" I stepped out onto the porch, still in my flannel shirt and boots, heart pounding from disbelief. That's ridiculous. There's nothing wrong inside. Karen smiled, slow, predatory, like a snake in lipstick. Well, if you have nothing to hide, she purred, then you shouldn't mind letting them take a look. I turned to the county officers. Did she file these complaints? The fire inspector shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my eyes. Anonymous, he said, but detailed, very detailed, of course. I could practically see Karen staying up all night, typing up her little masterpiece of lies, mixing just enough fake concern with her usual pettiness to get the county involved. She knew the HOA had no legal right to enter my home, but if she could weaponize the county, that was a whole different game. Well, I said slowly, stepping closer to the porch rail, if you've got a warrant or a valid inspection order signed and dated by the county, I'll gladly cooperate. Otherwise, this is still private property. The code officer hesitated, clearly uneasy. We were hoping for voluntary access. Karen was practically vibrating behind him, eager for a show. I smiled. Then I'm respectfully declining. Unless you're here under lawful authority, you're all trespassing. Karen's face turned the color of a stop sign, but this time she didn't flinch. And neither did I. She hated being told no. Her gaze darted between the officers and me like she was waiting for backup to magically appear from the woods. But I didn't budge. This was my land. My home. Out here, her HOA crown meant nothing. The county officers exchanged looks, clearly uncomfortable being caught in the middle of what was obviously a personal feud disguised as an inspection. They weren't blind. They could tell something wasn't adding up. Karen, however, was not about to lose face. I'd like it noted, she barked, that the homeowner is refusing inspection. That's a clear violation under subsection. Subsection of what, Karen? I interrupted, calm but firm. You don't make the law. The HOA can't override county jurisdiction or private property rights. Her glare could have set the cabin on fire. I turned to the fire inspector. Look, I'm happy to schedule a proper inspection if there's a documented cause. But I'm not opening my doors because she's decided to start a witch hunt. He nodded after a long pause. We'll file our report. But yes, sir, you're within your rights to deny entry. Karen stomped her foot like a spoiled kid losing at Monopoly. He's hiding something. I know this property is unsafe. I took a slow step forward, my tone calm but deliberate, loud enough for the officials to hear without making it a scene. She's been harassing me for over a year. I've kept every email, letter, and voicemail she's sent. If this continues, I'll have no choice but to file a restraining order. That made the officers pause. The fire inspector turned toward her with a sharp look. Ma'am, if this is a civil dispute between neighbors, we suggest you let the proper legal channels handle it. We're not here to be used for personal grudges. Karen's jaw clenched so tight I thought her teeth might crack. She muttered something I couldn't catch and stormed back to her convertible, fuming and humiliated. For now. As the county vehicles drove away, I finally exhaled. I'd won this round, but something told me Karen wasn't finished. She'd be back, probably with a fresh stack of regulations she'd twist into her next crusade, but this time, I had a plan. If she wanted to play legal games, I'd show her what real law looked like. Over the next week, the emails started rolling in, 5 of them in total, each one more desperate than the last. One accused me of running an unlicensed Airbnb. I wasn't. Another claimed my porch. Furniture violated aesthetic guidelines. Then she went. Nuclear, alleging that my cabin was a fire, hazard and demanding entry again under the guise of community safety. But this time, I wasn't just deflecting her nonsense. I was documenting everything. I called a real estate lawyer, a good one. I showed him every letter, every message, even the ridiculous warrant she'd tried to serve me. He skimmed the paper, blinked once, and then actually laughed. This is fraudulent, he said flatly. She's impersonating legal authority. That's a criminal offense. Boom. That same afternoon, I filed a harassment complaint with the sheriff's department and hand-delivered a cease and desist letter to Karen's HOA office. I made sure to bring a witness and record the whole thing just in case she tried to twist the story later. She didn't say a word. She just stood there, pale and furious, staring at the letter like it might bite her. But I wasn't done yet. I hired a licensed home inspector. My choice this time. and ordered a full top-to-bottom inspection of my cabin. It passed with flying colors. No wiring issues, no mold, no unpermitted anything. The place was immaculate. I printed 10 copies of that report and mailed one, directly to every HOA board member, not just Karen. The next HOA meeting was one for the books. I walked in with a folder thick enough to stop a bullet. Karen was already seated, smirking like she still had the upper hand. That smirk didn't last long. I played the video of her trying to push her fake warrant. Then I read aloud the county's official report, confirming there was no legal cause for inspection. Then, for the grand finale, I quoted the HOA bylaws back to her, word for word, proving that she had violated her authority multiple times, and then I dropped the hammer. If this harassment continues, I said evenly, I'll be filing a civil suit for defamation, invasion of privacy, and abuse of authority under your own HOA charter. Karen went pale. The room went silent. Finally, one of the older board members cleared his throat. I think it's time, he said carefully, that we review who's been given enforcement responsibilities. Translation. Karen's reign was over. A week later, she resigned. Personal reasons, the notice said. I didn't care what excuse she gave. She was gone. The quiet returned. No more fake inspections. No more threats or fines. Just the sound of birds, the smell of pine, and my land, peaceful, private, and finally respected. Sometimes all it takes to shut down a Karen is the truth. A good lawyer, and a pair of scissors for her fake warrants. So if you've ever dealt with an HOA tyrant or a nosy neighbor who just won't quit, smash that like button, drop a comment, and tell me, how would you handle someone showing up at your door with a fake warrant? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of savage takedowns, HOA drama, and justice served ice cold.